Hello mortals, this is Random Wizard and welcome to the Random Channel. Today we're going to be talking about Manga Recommendation 4. Yep, finally here. Well, it's probably a day for you, so not finally here, just here. Max out leveling, first of all, that's the first one I'm gonna get into. This one is an interesting one. I've seen this type of art style before. Not a big fan of drawings like this, but it is a so-so. The story, however, makes up for it. The story is a combination of skill RPG and mana-based system combined with Murim skill. The MC is OP, not the ultimate badass, but strong enough. The main villain is kind of weird in his motives, so that's a negative because they don't really clear it out, even like into several chapters in, which is a little bit weird, but okay. The MC is like over 100 years old, but he does not act like his age. He sounds like a mature 25-year-old rather than someone who is over 100 years old. Still an interesting and quick read, only like 30 or so chapters, so you can read it if you want. I do believe I dropped this one. Maybe I did. Yeah, I think I did drop this one. Maybe I did not. I can't be 100% on that because I wrote this review a little while back. But I think there was like some issue with like, the whole point was the main character is great, but the main villain is such an obscure entity. And he is honestly, first of all, his motives are not clear. Second of all, he is like very, how should I put this? He acts through third parties a lot, right? So he's one of those like plotting type of villain where the main character is just like playing in the palm of his hand or something. But the worst part is like it's just like it doesn't vibe with me. Like the plotting, like I've seen shows where main villain plot a lot and like play around with the main character, but this one is just like it gets super annoying. Like the main character not only plays with the main character a lot, he shit talks a lot, and the main character, as I said, he acts like he's supposed to be over 100 years old, but he really acts much younger for his age. He gets angry sometimes, he gets like very attached sometimes, which is like something the show specifically points out, that his attachments are a lot lower because he is of much older age. So when he interacts with people younger than himself, like 20, 30 years old, he would like look at them as children, so he can't relate to them, but at the same point his feelings are still there. It's like you've lived a harsh life for 100 years. I don't know why you still have those feelings like that. And it's very absurd a little bit, all I can say. So while the show was very interesting the way it did it, the problem came in with the villain being really obscure and weird. Like I've seen obscure villains before, but it was just the main villain is too weird for me. And I think I dropped it. I'm not 100% on that, but I think I've dropped it. But you can definitely read it if you want, because the main character is interesting. Don't get me wrong. His whole thing is very interesting, and when he gets angry, he is very interesting. But yeah. All the names of the manuas will be in the description, as they always are. If I've said that before, this is kind of weird to say it again, but if I've not, then great. So the second show that manga that I'm going to recommending is Master of Legendary Realms. Now this is a Murim-based manhwa, but it has a cultivation element rather than a focus on just martial arts. The main character is someone who's born with only 7 meridians instead of 8. So there's an issue with his cultivation, so he cannot get stronger beyond a certain point. When he gets to that cultivation level, he loses all his cultivation and reverts back to a weakling. We have to cultivate again to his apex and then revert again. His master was one of the strongest people on the planet, to the point he became an immortal, which is like this world's immortals are a little bit weird. They like kind of disappear into the void, and they say that their bodies are destroyed, but their souls actually like travel to like some other realm. And his whole goal is to lead his one of the strongest clans there is as a sect master, while also trying to become immortal to rejoin with his master. For that, he will have to do 2 things: is first of all face all the dissenting voices that are saying that he is not worthy of being the sect master of the strongest sect because he can't even cultivate beyond a certain point. And he's not like cultivate beyond a certain point doesn't mean like there are 10 levels and he's at level 9 and that's the maximum level he can cultivate to. No, I'm talking like there's 10 level and he cannot cultivate beyond like the 4th level or something. So yeah, that's the thing. So he has to deal with dissenting voice. He has to find a solution to his cultivation. Will he be able to find it? Will he be able to become immortal? Will he be able to leave? But he also has very specific martial arts. He also knows various information. He's very smart as well. He's very good at disguising and everything like that, because extra skills are required. It's just shown in the show, and the show is actually fairly decent, but it's nothing special. I dropped the show as like 250th chapter. Can you believe it? I read 250 chapters and then I dropped it. You want to know why? Because the main character doesn't get into any major tussles. So the thing is, like, if he were to use his sex entire like prowess to achieve certain goals, then I would be like, okay, you know what? It's like understandable, like it's doable. This show is watchable. But the thing is, like, the main character doesn't get into any major tussles. He doesn't use his sex power all that much. He uses very little of it. He uses it. Don't get me wrong. He uses it, but he uses very little. Like maybe small groups of one or two guards or whatever who are like strong enough to using their help and shit like that. He likes to go into problems himself and act like a hero when he does not have the strength to back it up. I mean, he does not do it like completely like retardedly like most shows do, but it's still a little bit too much for him to handle. But he likes to get into that a little bit too much. He has a lot of knowledge, which does help, but the main character does. Won't get that pro tag adrenaline rush. Like, oh man, the main character is really trying his best, because the show already has a fucking limit on him from the very start. It's not like the main character has a shitty cultivation talent, so that it will take him longer to reach that level. So he has to work hard every single day to achieve it or something like that. It's nothing like that. It's like the main character is literally limited to a certain cultivation, and he has to deal with people who are like level 6, level 7, and it's like, oh man, how the fuck would this even work? So the most areas is just like the main character using some wit and something to escape situations and then running away. It's just constant running away. There's no like adrenaline like hits, and like just like nothing really pumps up your adrenaline. So if you're so here's the thing. If you are into fighting, like very heavy into fighting and like enjoy a lot of action, then I would not recommend this show. If you are new to Murim and cultivation and all that, this manga I do believe has a little bit more in-depth explanation into cultivation systems. So you can definitely read this one if you want to understand certain things a little bit better. It's not the staple point or anything. It's not like Holy Grail or something, but it's okay if you just want to get an idea of how Murim and like cultivation shows work. Other than that, if you're into fighting, then definitely not the show for you. But you can read it if you want, but it's nothing too special. The whole thing is like, if it was like 50 chapters or so, I will recommend it totally. I was like, yeah, it's a simple show. You can read it if you want. But it's like, it was over 250 chapters. I dropped it at 250 chapters. You can imagine how much I read before I was like, you know what, this show is just not for me, because it's just so slow and like nothing major happens really. It's like some politics here, some small dungeon there. It's like, whatever. Okay, the last show is Memoir of the King of War. Now, this show is very different, very different. You wanna know why? Because the main character is, first of all, very thin, right? He is not some jacked up motherfucker like most Murim shows are. I mean, you have to be a little bit jacked, right? But he's thin. He's not lean. He's thin. So he does not have much muscle on him, first of all. But the thing is, the main character's whole thing is that he learned a very specific form of martial art from a very specific person. So it's a one-man sect, right? It's called I think it was called the Heavenly Artillery General. Yeah, I think the any person who knows this art is known as the Heavenly Artillery General, which is like a one master or one student sort of situation. So the master takes one student, teaches them that skill, and then whatever, he dies and whatever. So if the student is killed, pretty much the fucking art is gone, because there's no like written record of it anywhere neither. So the Heavenly Artillery General's whole point is that the main character has a very overpowered ability of to manipulate mana, right? No, ki, sorry. So he has learned about the intricacies of the human body, and he also has key control. Basically, most shows where, like, let's say a sword user would be, so he would like strengthen his sword with his key to be able to cut sharper with harder things. And like some other would be like a physical body person would be train their muscles and like embed a key into their muscles, so when they punch they can like break boulders and like mountains and shit like that. This guy does key control, so essentially he does not have physical strength or any specific things like that, but he can, if he touches you, essentially what he does is that he injects his special heavenly artillery thunder key into a person's body. It's kind of like electricity, but it's in a key form. So he can basically he takes over your body and then destroys your muscles, he destroys your bones, and he destroys your blood. He just essentially shatters any live points of living. So essentially, if he fought against Majin Buu, he won't be able to do shit to Majin Buu. Like, Majin Buu would barely be affected by his ability. Maybe the Thunder Key would like singe him a little bit. If Majin Buu was really weak, by the way. Obviously, if we're talking about really weak Majin Buu, let's say. So anyone with like a proper human body, he can absolutely decimate if he touches him. And even without touching him, he has long range abilities as well, which we'll see later in the show. But this show is very different because his ability is very different from everyone else. His skill can actually make him a really good doctor, but the Heavenly Artillery Generals only know how to destroy. So it's very cool. The show is bloody, brutal. But the thing is, the only thing at the show that was missing at the start of the show was there was no goal for the main character, because he really did not have any goal. And he honestly, even now, where I'm reading very far into the show, he still does not have much of a goal. But it's still way too cool. It's just a really good show. Very interesting martial read. I'm definitely not going to recommend it if you have never read Murim manhwas before. I would recommend checking out other ones, because this one's a very specific cultivation based. But yeah, if you have ever read any martial manhwas, then this is definitely good. Definitely go check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.